Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Carrie Mocyk, and I'm one of the instructional designers on campus. Today, I created a session. It's called Message Received. Um, and it's going to kind of go over what the student view of some of the feedback that gets sent to them and how that looks for them. And we're going to kind of talk about whether or not the way that we're sending this feedback is the best way for them to receive it. So I'll explain more in a moment. As a session disclosure, I want you to know that my role on campus is usually about designing courses and Brightspace support. I only, I don't often get to be in the live course to see how that functions. I see the help desk tickets. I see where students sometimes get confused. But I also want to acknowledge that your experience in your role working in a live course and that's part of your day-to-day world. There could be parts of this that you know more about this than I do. Um, but the thing is we can only see things firsthand from our perspective. We can only say we know about the student's experience so much. So what I did with this presentation is show you how it looks for faculty versus how it looks for students. And then we're going to discuss whether the way to approach offering this feedback to students could be improved. Okay, so this is definitely a different setup than other sessions we've done. All right, so there's different means of offering feedback to students, whether it's through announcements or assessment feedbacks or rubrics, different things like that. And that's what we're going to be talking about more. So one of the things that's available inside of Brightspace that I wanted to talk about because I'm going to show how this works throughout the course or throughout the different pages here, the presentation here, is to look at intelligent agents and understanding that intelligent agents are used sometimes to email users with grades below a certain level, or for checking for users that haven't logged into the system for a number of days, to check for users that, to see if they've viewed specific content. Intelligent agents are very helpful to faculty in sending out messages to students. And sometimes with the badges and certificates, like those could be really helpful in sending some personalized feedback. And within those tools, there are these replacement strings. And replacement strings make feedback look like it was written just for the student. So you could change out an email to say just the student's name. So it looks like it says, "Hey, Carrie, thank you for completing this." All right. So I mentioned this because I'm going to show you how it works throughout Brightspace. And admittedly, we are getting into the weeds here. So I just want to keep saying that so that everyone understands that this is a little bit kind of a different session. So in this message, so we're talking about replacement strings. Up top here, we've got a first name. This is a replacement string. If you were to send a course message to an individual student, this is from the roster. I just wanted to tell you exactly where I pulled this from. I added a replacement string in here, and I added an image, and I have a link in here. All right, so, and then this last piece down here is something that is automatically written in there. So this is from the faculty view in edit. And then we're going to switch over to what the course message received by a student in the email. So this is if it was sent to the student in an email. And I want you to take note of the first thing up top. So if you were to send a course message and the replacement string was used and it was sent to the student's email, the replacement string did not work. So there's one of the things that I kind of wanted to share because that does cause confusion for students. You wouldn't want to have that show up to students in that way. So one of the things that I just wanted to, to a lot of this information I'm going to share today is stuff that when you're ready to use these tools inside of your course, and you just want to make sure that you know how they're going to interact with the students. All right, so then the next page, I wanted to show you how students receive individual course messages from, if it was sent from the roster, how they would get that. So that's what this is showing. So they'll get an email notification. The only big thing to know about that is the students can actually change those notification settings. So if they wanted to avoid all of these notifications, they could. All right. So how students receive messages by going through course messages. Again, replacement string is missing. So it's just something to be aware of. Okay. All right, so the pause and reflect, I just want to take a moment to think about that. Does anybody use replacement strings in this group?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
all
do.
right. You do? Okay.
It's fine.
Yeah. So it just was information that at one of the conferences I was just at, they were talking about how sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, it depending on where you are in Brightspace. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that a little bit, just knowing that they are great tools, but know that they don't work everywhere. All right, so then we want to look at announcements. So this again is in the edit view. I wanted to share what could be inside of an announcement. You'll notice that I shared specifics about what the research project, about the project. I shared an image. I wanted to show what it looked like, um, to students. I wanted to share some important information in here with students. Okay, let's just say, I'm sorry, I'm just gathering my thoughts. There's steps to write a research paper. Please reference these steps when you begin writing. And I want you to send me a draft of whatever. And I just wanted, there's some important information in here, okay? And then from the students view, announcement view for students in an email, this is what they would get. Now take note that the image is missing. So that's important to know, okay? All right. The replacement string does work in announcements, so that's good to know. And the link also worked. Is there a link in there? Can't, gotta change my view real quick. Okay. I do know that the link works. Oh, there it is. So there's an announcement with a link. Let me just get back to where I was, announcement. All right, so that all worked how it was supposed to. Brightspace notifications. Now, if the student accessed the announcements through the Brightspace notifications, this is how they're going to see it. They can see the image, so that's helpful. So if they're accessing it through Brightspace, they'll see it. Okay, so one of my things that I wanted to talk about is how announcements look for students in their email. So I was getting duplicate announcements because I'm in as a couple different test students, but I did want to consider the information that's shared throughout announcements and whether or not new information should be shared within announcements, especially if this is what they're seeing. So if they have a full course load and every professor chooses to send once or twice a week, we do need to consider whether or not announcements is the best place to be sharing new information. Reminders, fine, but new information, things that they need to reference. So in my example, I had the, how to write the research paper. Is that the best place for that, especially if this is what they're going to see in their email? All right. So that was one of the things on how that could be lost messages because a lot of students probably wouldn't bother going through this. Maybe. Don't want to assume. All right. So let's look at the quiz settings and feedback because this was another interesting thing that I found. All right, so this is how the students see a published grade and notifications. When they go through the notifications and they click on this link with a quiz putting it together demo, they are going to see it's going to take them to grades. All right, so the issue with grades is that not all feedback shows here. Many times the students need to go through course progress to see the detailed feedback. And if anyone needs those instructions, I do have them readily available. So that's really important to know. If they're accessing it through the notification, it's going to take them to grades. It's not going to take them to course progress, and course progress is probably where they need to get a decent amount of the feedback. All right, so our next step, we're going to dig into some of the settings to look at evaluation and feedback, the different settings you could choose. We're focusing just on the feedback part. So one of the things that I did want to talk about is the auto publish and whether or not you would want to use that. The auto publish would be great for multiple choice questions or things that are auto graded. But if you have any types of essays or anything that needs to be manually graded, auto publish probably shouldn't be checked. You should probably grade everything before you send that out to students. That could cause some confusion. All right, so then quiz results display feedback, overall question level feedback. All right, so when the students get the quiz results, this is the screen that they see, the primary view. You can customize a results message there. I did use a replacement string. It did work on this page here for when published, they can see their name attached to it. But that is the standard view. And then I wanted to show the question level feedback because the question level feedback is something that came about in conversations. So this is while you're creating the questions, after each answer, the feedback that comes through. And I just wanted to show you what that looked like for students. So in a true false, this is how it looks. You can have the feedback here. It's pretty standard. That's not too confusing for students. This is when in the feedback you select that the wrong answer feedback for a multiple choice exam. This is how it looks. So in this case, which number comes before 10? And this is what it told them. This number comes after 10. So it doesn't give them the answer. This is one of the settings that you can have it set to. It's just whether or not the feedback being a generic feedback, if that's really helpful for the students. Would you want to, in this case, offer an answer, like, is that the best way to correct them if they've received a wrong answer? Is this feedback valuable, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. All right, so then this one is incorrect question with correct answer feedback. What does that look like? So this number comes after 10. So it's the incorrect question, but are the students going to know that? So again, this feedback, is it really helpful to the students as they're working through this, looking at their questions? And I did want to show the overall feedback if you wanted to share with students this customized quiz results. The replacement string does work, and you can create some overall feedback for them instead of the question level feedback. So again, just showing you what it is, what it looks like for students. All right, this is the one that I really kind of wanted to talk to. And I'm really sorry that the quality of this image is terrible. And it's just because I've been looking for it for quite some time because I knew there was a circumstance, but I couldn't remember where it was. And I just recently found it. So this is a multiple select question. All right, so on the left image, it says if you are, and it doesn't, I cropped out the question, but it has two correct answers, a wrong answer, and a blank answer. And I just want to take note of what the feedback looks like. This is not correct. This is correct. This is correct. And I want to, again, stress, is this helpful to students if you're using question level feedback? So making sure that the feedback is descriptive so that the student knows what, just it, just more detail so that it doesn't cause confusion. The students would need to know that this is the order that it was presented to them. It's making assumptions on what is not correct and what is correct. So I just see this as confusing for students, and I just wanted to kind of share that information as you're creating feedback at different, if you ever use these type of questions. All right, so then this is a pause and reflect again. It's just taking the time to learn more about how students receive quiz feedback. Will ensure the feedback you want students to receive will be received in a way that you intended. All right, so it's one of those things that until you're ready to use the feedback at that level, probably wouldn't know, be involved in this much, but at least right now, if you know that there are things to consider as you're using feedback, um, it could be valuable to, avoid some confusion for students. And then we're going to go into discussion feedback. I don't have a lot here, but I wanted to show you a couple of things. This is how a discussion is going to look after it's been graded in notifications. This is how the grades show up. The replacement string was used and you could see it. So that's good to know for those who use them. And then I just wanted to show you, like, this is what the rubric looks like for students um, for a discussion. Okay, so why did I choose this session to show? I know that what I gave you was a lot of information. It was definitely into the weeds of Brightspace, but there were reasons for it. And it came down to a session that I attended over, I don't know, this past spring, and it was the SUNY Online Summit. And every year with the SUNY Online Summit, they have guest students come in, online students, and they talk about what their perception is of online courses and, what reality is. And I always find it interesting the things that they come up with because it's so different than we've considered. And it has you thinking like, okay, well, what's in our power and what's not in our power? So, talking about that, about messaging and stuff like that, course availability, for online courses, students had told us that they thought they were being punished by locking down the different modules. They wanted to be able to access all of their modules at one time. And, punishment isn't the word that we would ever use to describe. There's a reason that we do that, but it might be worthwhile to share that message so that, it's kind of like feedback in the sense of telling them the relevance of why you are, locking down a module, multiple modules in advance. Going back to online courses, the self-paced, what that actually meant, they think that they can just take it whenever they feel like it, not recognizing that there's due dates and things like that. The clarity of information, when they are confused, what kind of message, um, if they're looking at something that doesn't make sense to them, what are they thinking generally about maybe the whole course or the whole situation, their whole college experience, things like that. So we talk a lot about the clarity of information, and I do find it interesting every time we talk to these students. It's one of the things that they're looking for. And then everybody is always wondering what's the best means into how we share this information. We all struggle from information overload, the students included. I showed you what those announcements look like, and that's just one piece of it. So it's something to really take a look at, find out what's in your power to improve this experience for the students. And a lot of like the information, clarity of information, it might be to have a running list of questions that come up throughout the semester, and then next semester adding it directly into your course so that they don't, they won't have those questions again, or at least they'll be different, right? And then the other reason that this came up, the true inspiration as to why the session was created, were the multiple alerts, and being thoughtful of that, recognizing what starfish might be sending out to students versus what intelligent agents might be sending out, any of the auto notifications, any other interventions, considering the timing of these tools. These are all just things that to consider, that, we all work in our own silo of uh, you know, in your course, you're working in a silo, just doing your thing, but also recognizing what the campus might be doing, other departments might be doing, what advisors might be doing, all of that kind of stuff. And I'm just mentioning it so that a student doesn't receive 4 emails on the same issue. If they do, then like how could you make your message the one that they want to read, the one that they're looking to learn more about? So this actually, the session went faster than I thought it would. The takeaways from this being the replacement strings, just know that they don't work all throughout Brightspace. That feedback looks different for students, and it might not look as you thought it would. Emails will look different. Knowing how to use a system works, how the system works can assist in minimizing confusion, unintentional anxiety. I really think, like, we talk about intent on whether, it's intentional to cause any confusion, if there's intent to make it more difficult for anyone. And that's never the case. It's just whether or not the way the information is being received is helpful to the students. All right, and with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. All right, give me 1 second. Okay, so based off of that information, do you have any questions? Did you learn something new at least? That was my intent. So, it's a small group here. I'll tell you the story of it, but someone I'm close to, I won't mention the situation of how this happened, but someone I'm close with takes a lot of quizzes. Took a quiz on the first week of class and failed it. She's in a very difficult program. And in that week, she received the message stating that that she failed the quiz, even though there were essays, so it wasn't graded all the way. Then she received a notification saying she got a starfish notification, she got an advisor notification, and the auto she was told that she failed it before the published results came through. There's like 4 different ways in the first week of class, and all good intentions. Like, it offered all the studying opportunities, all these different things, but nobody wants to be told that you failed. By the way, you failed, and you failed again. Once more, you failed. There ended up being 4 different notifications for the one instance. And that would be a lot. That would be a lot. That causes a lot of unnecessary. I know that's not the intent, but I also understand the purpose of trying to catch people before, they fall behind. But it did have me thinking a lot about how this looked for, students, whether the intentional message or the consequence of that. So.
Is there a reference somewhere where we can see where the replacement strings work and where they don't work? Because I feel like my takeaway is going to be like, these are unreliable, don't trust them, just don't use them, which I don't think is what I should be
Right.
going for.
So I do have, this is the Brightspace one. Yeah, and this is from, I was at,
Sorry, you're not sharing. Where is it?
oh, I'm getting it right now for you.
Okay.
So this came out when I was at a CIT, which is a conference, SUNY conference, and they were talking a lot about it. And I was like, whoa, hang on, that can be a problem. And also, I will say that was one of the instances, the student I just spoke of, where the replacement string was not, the email wasn't formatted properly, replacement string was noted. Like, what's a replacement string? Yep, you would want to know that. So there is some information with Brightspace there. And then if you use, let me pull the other one up. And these are instructions for students viewing feedback, and that's going through course progress. And that is the tried and true. They'll be able to see all of the feedback there. And that's something that's worth sharing with students, letting them know at the beginning of the semester, calling it out so that they know to go to course to see their feedback, not just on the grade screen, because the grades do not show all feedback. Have you ever been into the class progress? Okay. Yeah, so from the faculty view, if you're in Brightspace and you go to class progress, as soon as you click on a student's name, it's the same view for you as it is for them. And from that view, they click on discussions, or the screenshots and those instructions will show you what it looks like for them. But it's really helpful for you to know that as soon as you click on a student's name, your view becomes theirs, and you can check to see how they're seeing their feedback. And that's a good place for you to look to see how it's behaving. All right, any other questions? Anything you want me to revisit to explain any more? I know that's my concern with this session, was that was kind of deep into the weeds, but I thought there was some reason to, spend a few minutes on it.
And Carrie has another session at 10 as well. So if you're interested, she'll be doing it. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you.